Just because we wear lipstick don't mean we can't kick your ass.
From punching Guns N' Roses guitarist,
including Guns N' Roses guitarist Izzy Stradlin, who was punched in the face by Motley Crue vocalist Vince Neil,
to surviving jail time after a drunk driving crash that killed the drummer of another band,
a passenger in his car was killed,
getting sued by their oldest bandmate, and lying in a dumpster after near-fatal heroin overdose.
I was on heroin, coke, pills, alcohol.
All at once?
Yeah, all at once.
Out of all the heavy metal bands, Motley Crue is one of the most controversial of them all. But at the same time, they've sold tens of millions of records worldwide to become one of the most successful and notorious metal bands of all time, and earning their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
We f***ed the chicks, we shot the drugs, we wrecked the cars.
Yeah! How? I mean, how a band, who don't live without chaos, could achieve such great heights.
Are you recording it here in LA?
Yeah.
Even their flame-throwing guitar speaks for itself. It's not easy. It's unpredictable, and in this video we're going to find all the answers. Because if their tell-all book The Dirt could become a New York Times bestseller, and later a Netflix biopic, then there's something mysterious about them we must find out.
We didn't want to take it to court because it would be too much trouble and too much hassle, but
I'm going to give you the time, and I'm going to give you the place, and there's no backing out now, buddy.
We were completely wrong about Motley Crue. As excited and energetic as he seems in this video, Nikki Sixx, the co-founder of Motley Crue, was lying in a dumpster before writing this song. He was completely unconscious and was considered dead by the people around. And it was not until the next morning when he suddenly woke up and remembered what happened. He remembered that last night was the Valentine's Day, and Nikki went to his dealer's house to get some. However, out of excitement, Nikki overdosed on heroin to such an extent that he fainted in his dealer's living room. He was not moving, not breathing at all. Something that panicked his dealer like never before. If he takes Nikki to the hospital, then he would be in trouble, and if he calls the doctor, then he would be questioned for the consequences. So being left with no other option, Nikki's dealer threw his body in a dumpster. The bassist of one of the legendary heavy metal bands in the world just lying on the street unconscious.
If you're going to be a drug addict, you might as well have a supply so you're not constantly
Sure.
chasing some deal. Dealers aren't the most reliable people in the world, are they?
Yeah, you think?
Surprisingly, this incident inspired Nikki to create a song that makes people still dance all the time. The lyrics of Dancing on Glass clearly says, "I've been through hell and I've never gone back. To dance on glass going way too fast. Gonna burn and crash. Valentine's in London and found me in the trash." Through these words, Nikki wanted to express the moment that became the most turning point of his life. Something that even today inspires musicians of all ages. Whether it's a college dropout or an old man wanting to reignite the same feeling. Sometimes one of the worst mistakes of your life could also give you an unforgettable lesson. The song was part of their fourth album, Girls, Girls, Girls. People loved it so much that the album was ranked number 2 in the Billboard 200 and sold 4 million copies. Nikki believed that if Whitney Houston did not launch her album around the same time, no one would have stopped them from taking the number 1 spot. There was also an element of the way they were dressed and how they presented themselves in public. Long hair, sitting on a motorcycle, and wearing a leather jacket. Accept it or not, Motley Crue were like the trendsetters in the 1980s, something that also resulted in fights with Metallica, Guns N' Roses, about which we will discuss in a few minutes. Not to mention the Girls song was meant to pay tribute to iconic strip clubs in Los Angeles, Vancouver, and other parts of the world. So you can imagine the impact of their song, the presentation that not only takes you back to the 20th century, but also makes you fall in love with that time. But then something happened that destroyed everything they built thus far.
Motley Crue bassist Nikki Sixx has died in Hollywood this evening.
Around 7 months after launching this album, on December 23, 1987, Nikki was lying unconscious in Franklin Plaza Hotel. Now, you might have guessed that he again must have consumed a large amount of heroin in his body, but this time it was much worse than ever before. Because outside the hotel, Nikki's limo driver saw a man jumping out of the window and shouting in the street, saying, "I just killed Nikki Sixx." And the next thing you know, Nikki was being transferred to the hospital and was declared dead. The person who ran was seen shouting on the street was actually Nikki's heroin dealer, who injected him with a dose of heroin. While he was declared dead, in his own words, Nikki expressed that something very gentle was grabbing his head and pulling him upward. Wherever he saw it was bright white, and when he looked down he actually realized that his soul has left his body. Fortunately, the paramedics were Motley Crue's biggest fans, and they somehow managed to save Nikki with 2 shots of adrenaline.
Flash's girlfriend brings you to the emergency room. You didn't know this. You wake up and you say there could be life after death because you saw the whole thing. You said they said you were technically dead? And you said you saw yourself laying in bed, you saw the hospital room, and you were above the room. So do you believe in life after death?
Pretty close.
He agreed heroin nearly killed me. As a matter of fact, it did. From the outside looking in, I was living the dream. But in reality, I was in the throes of a disease I couldn't control, addicted to heroin. In his book Heroin Diaries, he also agreed with the lessons he learned. He said a man who was so hooked on heroin and cocaine that he had to die twice before he began to contemplate a more positive lifestyle.
Or so, I had a really bad overdose, ended up in the hospital, came out, shot up again, overdosed again, and it was the next morning I woke up and the light just went on, and it was over. I never picked up again.
Surprisingly, this time again, this 2-minute near-death incident inspired him to create another hit song. Kickstart My Heart reached number 27 on the US Billboard Hot 100, a song that is even today used in famous movies like Cobra Kai. And also in Hellboy 2019. However, Nikki does not always need a heroin overdose to come up with a viral song. In fact, when he took the first dose of his he was not even conscious enough to understand what heroin actually is, because he was just 6 years old and was sitting with his stepdad in 1965. That's when it all started, when his stepdad repeatedly convinced him to take a hit from a joint and a pull from a bottle of Jack Daniels. They were on vacation in Guadalajara, Mexico, whose cartel was among the first of the Mexican drug trafficking groups to work with the Colombian cocaine mafias. So when Nikki took that first hit, he still remembered how it felt. Once that pot and whiskey hit my system, my mind went kaboom, and my whole world changed. The static in my head and my body that I felt all day every day just went away. Everything in my life became about chasing that feeling. Moreover, what happened with his family also became one of the reasons for his growing addiction. After his father left, Nikki was raised by a single mother. Later, his mother also abandoned him, which transferred the entire responsibility over to his grandparents. So with no guidance or support from his parents, Nikki, during his teenage days, did everything he could lay his hands on. He broke into neighbors' homes, shoplifted like those viral YouTube videos, and sold drugs in school like it was part of the system. Surprisingly, Nikki bought his first bass guitar after he sold the guitar that he stole from somebody. Nonetheless, what destiny held for him was something he never imagined. In the late 1970s, Nikki was a member of a famous local band called London. Known for his unique look and personality, he was playing as a bassist for the band. However, during their farewell gig, Nikki did not realize that he was being followed by 2 people. It was guitarist Greg Leon and drummer Tommy Lee, the co-founder of Motley Crue, who had their eyes locked on Nikki. It was like a breakthrough moment for Tommy Lee, because he felt a mysterious connection with Nikki. Leon remembers what Lee said when he saw Nikki perform on stage. "This is the guy we should get." But when Nikki auditioned twice for the band, Leon was still not ready to accept him in the group. In Leon's perspective, Nikki was awful, a person who cannot play bass at all. He looks great, he's amazing on stage, yet during the audition, Nikki was not what they saw in the first place. Maybe he was saying it out of jealousy. Nonetheless, over time, Nikki not only proved to be better than Leon, but also replaced him with Mick Mars. The advertisement to replace Leon was something that's hard to find today. It said loud, rude, and aggressive guitar player available. Soon, Mick Mars auditioned for the same and was hired to form Motley Crue, a perfect man who fits perfectly with the advertisement. Now, the band still needed the most important member to lead the way. It was the need of the lead vocalist, without which every heavy metal band is like a puppet with no leader. Fortunately, Lee knew one man who could turn Motley Crue into one of the greatest metal bands of all time, and that was Vince Neil. However, convincing a talented singer like that was not an easy job. Lee could not just ask him to leave everything and join Motley Crue, because around 1978, Vince was part of his first band called Rock Candy. The only advantage Lee had was that he knew Vince from their high school days. Their bond was unique at Oak High School, California, and the two also performed in different bands. So when Vince was with Rock Candy, Lee decided to take the shot and ask Vince to join Motley Crue. Surprisingly, Vince refused the offer. At first, Lee was astonished to see what happened. They desperately needed Vince to lead the way, but when he refused, Lee and Nikki did not know what to do next. Fortunately, what happened next was something that Destiny planned from the very beginning. Soon, Rock Candy members decided to go their separate ways and wanted to pursue outside projects. This behavior definitely enraged Vince to follow his own path. But when Lee heard about this news, he immediately used this as a perfect opportunity to ask Vince again. Just one last time, hoping he could reconsider what they were trying to create. Fortunately, this time Vince agreed to join Motley Crue. After releasing their debut album Too Fast for Love, Motley Crue released 900 copies of the same, just to test out how people would respond. In reality, the band sold 20,000 copies and went viral with their unique style. Now, if you look closely at their dressing style, you might not be able to trace back its origin. But the moment you compare this with the earliest versions of the Mad Max series, you can instantly find out its inspiration. As Mad Max 1 and 2 were released around the same time when Motley Crue was formed, they tried to bring the same personality in public. In fact, Nikki himself agreed and shared that until every image and aura was engraved in their brain, the entire band constantly watched Mad Max every day. There was also a mention of the 1981 movie called Escape from New York, which acted as a great inspiration for the band, something that motivated them to stand out from competition in the 1980s. Fortunately, within a year of their debut album, their impressive style attracted the attention of Warner Music Group, company Elektra Records. With fame touching their feet, Motley Crue wanted to do something bigger to attract worldwide attention. As Metallica was formed around the same time, they wanted to make sure all the attention of the fans shifts only and only towards Motley Crue. However, what they did to get this attention was something no band would dare to do again.
An unidentified caller phoned police last night to say the group would be done away with while they were performing.
During their Canada tour in 1982, on the front page of the Edmonton News, a bomb threat against the band was going viral. The news pointed out an unknown caller who wanted to blow up the band while they were performing on stage. But when Lee and their assistant band manager was interviewed by the police, it turned out to be a PR stunt by the band itself. A disturbing attempt to grab people's attention. Surprisingly, this was just the tip of the iceberg, because during the entire tour in Canada, the band did everything until it got banned from the Edmonton City of Canada. For example, Lee throwing television from the upper story window of Sheraton Caravan Hotel, or getting arrested by Edmonton International Airport for wearing a spiked stage wardrobe and carrying a bunch of porn magazines. A year after getting banned in Canada, Motley Crue was given an opportunity to perform at one of the biggest music festivals in the United States. And the way they controlled the audience turned out to be a breakthrough moment in their career. Looks like their PR stunts and incomparable music style helped them in getting the attention of millions of followers. Their fame shot through entire America when they launched their second album, Shout at the Devil. Now ABC News considered it as a part of conservative Christian groups and how it promotes modern Satanism. But after being certified platinum 4 times, the success speaks for itself. Moreover, the album was loved by the pioneer of heavy metal, Ozzy Osbourne, so much that he went on the 1984 tour with Motley Crue. But when these two legends met, something was bound to happen. For example, there have been reports that Osbourne, Lee, and Vince Neil were once arrested after lying drunk on a freeway. In another incident, Lee punched a fan who gave disturbing news that his girlfriend was at the center of Playboy's latest edition.
Miss drummer Tommy Lee and bass guitarist Nikki Sixx were handcuffed and hauled off to jail.
Nonetheless, despite their offstage controversies, each member of Motley Crue was becoming extremely famous for their disturbing clothing style. High-heeled boots, heavily applied makeup, and use of drugs like there's no tomorrow. Well, fans loved every part of their story. They were looking for clothes similar to what Motley Crue was wearing. And the moment they found it, they could not stop themselves from wearing them on the streets and turning it into one of the biggest fashion trends in the 1980s. But at the same time, competitors of Motley Crue were jealous of their enormous rise. Specifically, the drummer and founding member of Metallica, who was once so drunk that he got into a fight with Nikki Sixx.
Motley Crue or something in there. Oh, I'm sorry about what I said in that Cream magazine interview. It's like...
This happened when Motley Crue at the beginning of their career were once performing at Troubadour nightclub in California. And then all of a sudden Metallica drummer Lars Ulrich screamed from outside, "F Motley Crue."
All those other bands, that was the enemy, the opposition. That was who stood in our way.
Sure, the jealousy factor was bound to arise with every band aiming for enormous success. However, the way Lars Ulrich screamed after getting drunk was something that enraged Nikki Sixx to chase him in retaliation. And what happened after that was something that's never reported in the news.
I remember one night out in front of the Troubadour, we're standing there in our Iron Maiden t-shirts, and it was like after a couple of, Colts or Schlitz malt liquors or whatever, it was like, you saw like Nikki and Tom, it was like, Motley Crue. I remember Nikki Sixx started chasing after me, and the one thing I could do, because 5'6" of me, I could run faster than he could in his 16-inch platform boots, so it wasn't a contest there.
Now, Motley Crue's fight with Metallica may have existed for one night, but with Guns N' Roses it was live on camera, something that is even today considered one of the most iconic moments in the history of rock music.
Axl, if you're watching this, I want to challenge you to a fight.
And it all started in 1988, when Guns N' Roses guitarist Izzy Stradlin assaulted Vince Neil's wife in a club. The club was owned by American radio personality Riki Rachtman. Unfortunately, Vince was not present at the moment, but he was waiting for a perfect moment to get his revenge.
Who was Vince's girl at the time, and Izzy grabbed her breast.
He kicked her in the stomach while she was pregnant. I was pissed. I said, next time I see the guy, I'm going to kick his ass.
Coincidentally, the very next year in 1989 MTV Video Music Awards, Motley Crue was called on stage to present an award for Best Metal Video. And the winners of this award were Guns N' Roses. So the moment they were called on stage, only the bassist and drummer of Guns N' Roses decided to receive the award. Izzy Stradlin intentionally decided to stay back, because he knew that Vince was waiting on the stage to get his revenge. Yet Vince was adamant on getting his revenge. He patiently waited for Izzy Stradlin and Axl Rose to complete their performance with Tom Petty. And the moment they returned backstage, Vince used this as a perfect opportunity to punch Stradlin.
And Vince Neil leaps up out of the audience and hits Izzy right in the face.
Seeing this act, Axl Rose suddenly shouted at Vince and threatened to take his life.
Anytime he wants it, anywhere, Atlantic City, I don't care.
But Vince was also not afraid to get his revenge again. This time he wanted the world to see it. He said, "I'd like to do it at an arena where people can come and see. I'd like to have it televised. I want the whole world to see this fight. I think it's going to be great. I'm really psyched for it because I need to put an end to this."
Like men should do it.
Now, there have been speculations about the two of them fighting in the Madison Square Garden, but since Stradlin called Vince and apologized for hitting his wife, the world missed the chance to see what they want. So in conclusion, Motley Crue's journey towards success has been a roller coaster ride. Because at one point their own manager had to hold an intervention just so he could send all the members of the band to a drug rehabilitation center. And in another incident, Neil killed a drummer in a car accident. For this, he was sentenced to 30 days in jail and was sued for $2,500,000. But at the same time, they launched Theater of Pain, which was ranked number 6 in Billboard charts and was certified quadruple platinum. Most importantly, their 5th album, Dr. Feelgood, which ranked number 1 album in the Billboard 200, remained on the charts for 114 weeks and sold 6 million copies in America. Sure, Dr. Feelgood was released after they all got sober. This gave the signal to many fans that if Motley Crue remained sober all the time, then they could achieve incredible heights.
They win Super Bowls, and you see rock stars that get their life together and they win Grammys, and you see it in life. It's a successful road, and the other road, it doesn't end. I mean, it ends in death.
However, despite being sober, there have been on and off moments between the band, like lead vocalist Neil getting fired because of internal disputes with Tommy Lee.
So 75% voted me out.
And Lee in 1999 quit to pursue a solo career. The band did reunite in 2004. Not to mention the controversy at The Tonight Show, where Neil said live on television, "Happy effing New Year, Tommy," to Lee, something that resulted in an investigation by the Federal Communications Commission. But apart from what happens in the background, Motley Crue is still one of the best metal bands of all time. And yes, it's impossible to think about the 80s without having Motley Crue in your mind.